And we've all been examining this question of what stress does in our lives. What does it do to us physically? And there is a new study now about stress and fertility that could be raising a lot of questions and maybe some answers. Our medical editor, Dr. Tim Johnson.
49-year-old Susan Epstein spent years of her life running herself ragged, literally. Not only was she a highly ranked long-distance runner, but she became a busy wife, a student, an exercise physiologist.
I'm definitely a get up and get going kind of woman. That's my personality. I like to accomplish a lot.
Getting pregnant with her first child took the help of oral fertility drugs. But when it was time to try for baby number 2, Susan could not get pregnant. 3 rounds of IVF did not help. Then Dr. Sarah Burga gave Susan a reason: stress.
A little of this and a little of that really is worse than you think for your reproductive system.
I was really heavy into my career. My husband had a professional career. We had a small baby. I was new at all of those things. And I was also exercising. I was still running every day, trying to keep everything afloat.
Dr. Burga has been studying the impact of stress on fertility for years. While humans are designed to deal with a certain amount of stress, Dr. Burga believes that chronic stress may prevent some women from ovulating. She says it starts with the part of the brain that controls the release of hormones, the hypothalamus.
Your brain is hard to fool. The hypothalamus is, in essence, keeping a running tally of what you're doing. And even though you can say to yourself, no, I'm not stressed, your hypothalamus might come up with a different answer.
If your hypothalamus senses stress, the messages that are sent to the ovary to release eggs may be interrupted, causing stress-induced infertility. It's an interesting hypothesis, but one that patients and doctors may find difficult to accept.
I had a really hard time thinking it was me, because you want to get an answer that so they can fix something, you know, a prescription, a pill, whatever.
Suddenly we're telling them you need to alter your lifestyle in some way, run less, eat more. This can sound like pretty bad news.
But the good news is that for many, stress-related infertility can be reversed. In one study, Dr. Burga found that ovulation was restored in 7 of 8 women who underwent talk therapy, compared with 2 of 8 who did not. After hearing that stress might be impacting her fertility, Susan decided to de-stress her life. She left her job to take care of her baby and made a conscious effort to relax.
I had to stop running. I had to gain some weight. I had to take more time for myself. It sounds like exercise was time for myself, but it's part of that. It was really part of my whole stressful routine.
Instead, Susan took up yoga and piano, and much to her surprise, within 4 months and without any medication, she was pregnant. Today, her daughters are 11 and 7.
It was such a relief to let go. For me, I think it must have sent all the positive hormones in my brain, you know, that said, okay, you're ready now.
And Dr. Tim Johnson joins us now from Boston. Tim, this is pretty astonishing stuff here. Let me first of all just ask about stress. You're not talking about one bad month at the office, right? What's the difference in the kind of stress we think of in an average day and this?
Well, acute stress, the fight or flight response, talks about a sudden, unexpected kind of stress that'll last maybe hours, days at most. Chronic stress is that kind of stress that's built right into the structure of our everyday life. It's ongoing. It may be part of our personality. And that's the kind of stress that can take its toll on various parts of the body, including, we think, ovulation.
And if it does take its toll on ovulation, what about men? What about sperm? Do you see it there too?
Well, we know there's a very direct connection between the hypothalamus and the pituitary and the ovary in women. We don't have evidence of such a direct connection in terms of sperm production, for example, in men, although we know that stress in men can lead to difficulties with so-called performance, which can certainly lead to problems conceiving. But the connection in women is much clearer, and it's measurable, and it's being studied, therefore, in much more concrete ways.
And what does this say about everybody and the stress and the toll that it is taking on their bodies in other ways, and the ability of talking it out just to change all that?
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, Diane, to be honest, we probably know about a level of 2 in terms of our knowledge of the connection between stress and hormones and various chemicals in our body, but we're learning more all the time. And I do think we know intuitively ourselves when we're so-called under stress. We have a sense that our inner body is churning away, that we're frustrated, that we get angry easily. In all of those situations, I think there are tolls on our bodies that we yet don't measure very accurately, but are very real. So I think not only for fertility, not only for ovulation, but for our health in general, we ought to pay attention to the signals from our body.
And talking it out can't hurt, right? Whatever the medical profession can say officially.
That's correct. It may cost a little bit of money depending on where you go. There's no real risk involved. And I think in the case of many illnesses, and certainly in the case of fertility problems, it's worth checking out right at the beginning to see if that might be playing a role.
Okay, our thanks to you, Dr. Timothy Johnson.